The LA life. What do we consider to be the LA life to be? What do outsiders think the LA life is? And what is it actually? People see LA as this grand place where everyone has a nice home, everyone lives equally, and everything's just perfect. Because the beaches are always sunny, and you meet a celebrity almost every other day. But this isn't the truth. We see LA through a lens. So let's take off that lens. Let's step back. Let's get out of downtown. No, further than that. Let's head into somewhere more calm. The suburbs of LA. I interviewed some people, and they had one main thing
Very
that stuck out.
diverse. It's a very diverse area, and that's what I love about it.
The first person I interviewed was a Spanish teacher who's lived in LA for about 25 years of her life. Her parents came here in search of a better life for her family, as did most Mexican immigrants. Luckily, they had an easy transition, seeing as how they already had family here. But the realization of coming here, well, you'll see. What did they expect out of LA?
Well, I think for my mom, it was definitely a big shock. For her, she had this idea of the US as a beautiful place with big homes, everyone has a backyard, the typical movie. And when she came to live here, she comes to East LA, where most of the Mexican immigrants in the 80s would come and live. And it was a complete shock. It was nothing like the movies. Rundown homes, the streets, the gangs. So she was really disappointed. And I think for my dad, he had already lived in the US, so he kind of knew what, the neighborhood, the hood looked like. For my mom, it was definitely a big shock.
She went off to college, and she found something out. There was so much diversity. She was culturally shocked by how many people lived in LA. Would you say that LA is mostly comprised of Mexican immigrants or just Mexican culture, or what other type of culture
I mean,
is in LA?
I think we have so many cultures in LA, and that's part of the beauty. Unfortunately, I think for some people, especially younger kids, you grow up in a certain community and you're not exposed to other people, unless you live in a very diverse part of the city. But if you're growing, for example, in East LA or in Compton, you're not exposed to other cultures. Compton, East LA look very different than Beverly Hills or even downtown.
So we're back here again. Is this the reality of LA? Are we really diverse through segregation? I interviewed another teacher who's lived here since he was 16 and moved here from Chicago, Illinois. You moved here from Chicago when your parents moved here from Chicago. What were your expectations coming into LA?
I think a lot of people from the Midwest kind of look at LA as like we get a lot of our information from like Hollywood and movies and television shows, and so one of the things I thought was, I always imagine that most people here are kind of like blondes. You imagine like everyone surfs. Everyone has like convertibles, and they're always just driving around. So I imagine like kind of more of the glitzy and the more of like the stylized version of Hollywood that's portrayed. I always imagine you see movie stars everywhere, but you really don't.
What was the most surprising thing about LA to you?
I think the most surprising thing was how big it was. Even though Chicago's a large city, it's all pretty geographically located into one central spot. So a lot of places that I had not experienced before, I had expected, are LA. Like currently I now live in the San Fernando Valley, which is also part of Los Angeles, and it's completely different. So to me, I think the biggest, the most startling thing about it was probably the diversity of LA, about how big it was, all the different people there that aren't actually represented like in the media or portrayed at all.
From your experiences, what is LA like?
LA is a pretty fun place to be in. I honestly love it. Although not everyone's perspective of LA is true, the common belief is that LA is this beautiful, shiny, excellent place to live in where everyone just has fun and parties and all that. And that's not always true because people, there's poverty and there are other issues in LA revolving education too that just need to be addressed.
So people coming to LA have this notion that LA is this great place. But like every other place, it has its faults. They're shocked by the realization. But that doesn't make LA a bad place. It just means you have to make your own experiences.
Not a predominant culture at all. No, I think it's a mixture of cultures, the melting pot, if you will.
So I think LA is a beautiful place to live in, and it has so much to offer. And I think, being a teacher, I try to expose my students to different ways of thinking. And I think the more exposure we get for everyone, for Latinos being exposed to other people and other people being exposed to Latinos, and vice versa, that's going to create a better environment, more inviting and just more welcoming in LA.